Imagine a world where the decisions affecting billions of lives are not made in courts, parliaments, or even in the bright public halls of the Avengers mansion. Instead, they are made in darkened rooms, behind heavy doors, by a handful of men who believe, with absolute certainty, that they are the only ones capable of deciding the fate of all humanity. In the Marvel Universe, this group isn't a collection of masked villains or cosmic tyrants. They are the heroes you admire, the geniuses you look up to. They are the Illuminati. Welcome to Fantasy Realm HQ. Today, we are opening the most classified files in superhero history. This isn't just a story about heroes. It's a story about the terrifying weight of absolute power and the arrogance that comes with it. Our story begins in the smoking ruins of the Kree-Skrull War. For those who don't know, this was a conflict that turned Earth into a literal battlefield for two warring alien empires. While the Avengers eventually saved the day, the victory felt hollow to one man, Tony Stark. Standing among the debris, Iron Man realized something chilling. Each major power on Earth, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, the Inhumans, had specific pieces of information that could have stopped the war before it even started. But because they didn't talk to each other, because they were siloed in their own corners of the world, Earth almost died. Tony saw a problem that only a secret, elite structure could solve. Tony Stark called for a meeting. He didn't send out a public alert, he sent private, encrypted invitations. The location? The Royal Palace of Wakanda. He summoned the most influential leaders in the superhuman community. Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four, Neymar, the Submariner, Black Bolt, King of the Inhumans, Professor Charles Xavier, leader of the mutants, and Dr. Stephen Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme. Stark's pitch was radical, a unified superhero government. However, the group rejected the idea of a formal government. They didn't want the bureaucracy or the oversight. Instead, they agreed to something much more dangerous. They would meet in secret, share information, and manipulate world events behind the scenes, away from the eyes of the public and their own teammates. There was one other man in that room, T'Challa, the Black Panther. As he listened to these 6 men plan to play God, he felt a cold shiver. T'Challa saw what they couldn't, that their egos were too large for such a task. He told them plainly that the moment they disagreed, and they would, it would lead to a disaster the world couldn't survive. He refused to join, telling them that the very existence of such a group was an insult to the people they claimed to protect. With that, T'Challa walked out, leaving the 6 kings to their secrets. It was the first and last warning they would ever receive, and his words would eventually haunt every single one of them. To understand why this group is so fascinating, you have to look at what each member represents. They aren't just powerful individuals, they represent the different pillars of human society in the Marvel Universe. Tony Stark is the military-industrial complex and political influence. Reed Richards is pure science and the exploration of the unknown. Neymar represents the sovereign power of the oceans and the pride of an ancient kingdom. Black Bolt is the weight of inhuman tradition and royal silence. Xavier is the voice of a new species, the mutants. And Dr. Strange is the guardian of the mystical and the hidden realms. They believed that by combining these domains, they held the keys to reality itself, making them the ultimate judges of Earth's future. One of the group's most controversial acts involved the Infinity Gems, the most powerful artifacts in existence. After a series of cosmic threats, the Illuminati decided that no one, not even the gods, could be trusted with these cosmic nukes. So they did something unthinkable. They tracked them all down. Reed Richards even tried to use the power of the gauntlet to wish the gems out of existence, but the gauntlet refused to destroy itself. Realizing they couldn't be destroyed, they made a pact. Each member would take one gem and hide it. They swore never to use them and never to tell anyone, including their own families, where they were. They weren't just guardians. They became the ultimate hoarders of power, keeping the universe's greatest weapons in a drawer while the world remained ignorant. If you want to see the exact moment the Illuminati lost their moral compass, look no further than Bruce Banner. The Hulk had always been a problem for the world, but for the Illuminati, he was a variable that needed to be erased. Without a trial, without a lawyer, and without even telling the rest of the Avengers, Tony Stark and Reed Richards orchestrated a plan to exile the Hulk into space. They tricked him into a shuttle and launched him toward a peaceful planet. But the shuttle went off course, leading to the brutal events of Sakaar. By trying to fix the Hulk problem in secret, they turned a troubled hero into a world-breaking conqueror who would eventually return to Earth for blood. This was the moment their wisdom became tyranny. The Illuminati's greatest strength, their secrecy, became their undoing during the secret invasion. The Skrulls, masters of disguise, realized that if they could infiltrate this one group, they could control the planet. When the group met to discuss the growing Skrull threat, they were hit with a nightmare. Black Bolt was actually a Skrull imposter. The realization was devastating. If the silent king of the Inhumans could be replaced, who else was a fake? Paranoia set in instantly. The group that was supposed to save the world couldn't even trust the person sitting next to them. The Illuminati collapsed under the weight of their own distrust, leaving the Earth wide open for an alien takeover that they should have seen coming. Years later, the multiverse began to die. A phenomenon called the Incursions caused parallel Earths to collide. If two Earths occupied the same space, both universes would be destroyed. The only way to save one was to destroy the other. The Illuminati reformed out of pure necessity, but this time, they weren't just keepers of secrets. They became world killers. Every few weeks, a new Earth would appear in the sky, and these heroes had to decide if they were willing to commit planetary genocide to save their own families. The toll this took on their souls was immeasurable, as they spent their nights building antimatter bombs instead of saving lives. Steve Rogers, Captain America, was eventually brought into the fold because the group thought they needed his moral center. But Steve couldn't stomach what the Illuminati were doing. He refused to even consider blowing up another planet, no matter the cost. He called them out for their cowardice and their God complex, standing his ground as the voice of humanity. But the Illuminati wouldn't let him leave with their secrets. In one of the most heartbreaking moments in Marvel history, Dr. Strange used a powerful spell to wipe Steve's memory of the group. They betrayed the most honorable man on Earth because his conscience was an obstacle to their version of the greater good. As the incursions grew more frequent, the Illuminati's methods became more desperate and dark. Dr. Strange, desperate for more power to save reality, began practicing the Blood Bible, a form of dark magic that required him to sell parts of his soul to demonic entities. He transformed from a noble protector into a terrifying entity that used forbidden rituals to destroy opposing worlds. The archive shows us that even the Sorcerer Supreme wasn't immune to the corrupting nature of the Illuminati's mission. To save everything, he was willing to become the very thing he spent his life fighting, losing his humanity to save the world's existence. While the other members hesitated to pull the trigger on an inhabited Earth, Neymar did not. When a group of heroes from another Earth, the Great Society, stood in their way, the Illuminati debated the morality of their actions. But Neymar, seeing the hesitation of his peers, took the detonator and destroyed the other world himself. He called them cowards who wanted to keep their hands clean while he did the dirty work. This led to a permanent rift in the group. Neymar eventually left to form his own cabal of villains to do the killing, proving that the line between the Illuminati and a villainous organization had finally vanished into thin air. Everything the Illuminati did, every secret, every betrayal, every murdered world ultimately failed. They couldn't stop the final incursion. The multiverse died anyway, collapsing into nothingness. It was only through a desperate plan by Reed Richards and the godlike power of Dr. Doom that a small fragment of reality was saved in the form of Battleworld. The Illuminati's story is a tragedy of the highest order. They traded their humanity, their friends, and their souls for the chance to be saviors, and in the end, they weren't even that. They were just witnesses to the end of all things, haunted by the billions of lives they ended in the dark. What is the legacy of the Illuminati? It is a warning. It tells us that when power is concentrated in the hands of the smartest and most powerful without any oversight, disaster follows. They proved that even with the best intentions, secrecy leads to paranoia, and paranoia leads to tyranny. From the perspective of Fantasy Realm HQ, the Illuminati are perhaps the most realistic characters in comics because they reflect a very human truth. We often destroy the things we love while trying to protect them. Their failure wasn't a lack of power, but a lack of humility. The vault is closing on the history of the Illuminati. We've seen them rise as a council of kings and fall as a cabal of world killers. But now I want to hear from you. Were the Illuminati right? In a multiverse where everything is dying, is lesser evil still evil? Or were they just the only men brave enough to do what had to be done? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. This is a debate that has divided Marvel fans for years, and I want to know where the Fantasy Realm HQ community stands. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more deep lore dives, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new file. Until next time, remember, keep watching the shadows. You never know who's deciding your fate.